Short Story 1. The Old Man and the Mango Tree. There lived an old man in a distant village. He had only a few years left. They should be 80 years or above. No one knew his age. He was just an old man in the village. Every day he would wake up and leave his house, take a short walk outside the village and back. Benny and his family had just moved in next door to the old lady's house. Benny was a small boy and he noticed that the old man went out at the same time every day. Benny is also a very curious boy. He wanted to know what the old man was doing. One day he followed the old man without seeing him. After walking some distance he noticed the old man standing near a small mango tree. He brought a small bucket and filled it with water from the nearby well and watered it. Benny was shocked to see this. Forgetting that he was not seen, he went straight to the old man and asked, "Sir, you are very old and you are watering such a small tree, perhaps you cannot eat its fruit." The old man smiled and explained that he knew he would never enjoy the fruits of his labor, but he was watering the plant for the benefit of future generations. I love walking and the purpose this plant gives me. Moral of the story. We often look for results and many of our actions are directed towards getting results. This is a beautiful story to remind us all that sometimes action is the reward and we don't always need to focus on results. Short Story 2. A Bird in the Hand, Worth Two in the Bush. Once upon a time there was a very poor man in the village. He ate what he hunted in the forest. They hunted once in 2 or 3 days, brought back game and cooked and ate. He did not spend much in the forest because he was afraid of the leopards roaming in the forest. One summer month, it was very hot and the forest was dry and there was nothing to eat. The poor man was walking slowly in the forest. He saw a bird sitting on a low branch. The man was so light on his feet that the bird did not notice him coming. He quickly caught the bird and caught it. As we left the forest, we saw a big deer standing near a tree. He had an arrow and he could aim at a deer. He let fly the bird he had and took an arrow from his quiver and shot it at the deer. Luckily for the deer, it saw the man at the last moment and fled, like an arrow leaving the quiver. Now there is nothing left for man, not bird or deer. Moral of the story. This is a beautiful story to explain that the bird in the hand is twice in the bush. A man should never be greedy. 3. The Buddha and his disciple. Buddha was meditating on a tree. When he finished meditating, he felt a little thirsty. One of his disciples was around. He asked the disciple to fetch some water from the pool. The disciple took a small bowl and walked towards the pond. As they were walking near the pond some animals walked across and the lake water was muddy. The disciple went to the Buddha and apologized to him. Buddha again asked him to go to the pond. The water is still slightly muddy and not fit for consumption. The Buddha said to the disciple, "Wait a moment." After a while, the Buddha said, "Please go and fetch the water now." This time the water is crystal clear. The disciple asked the Buddha what magic he had done. The Buddha replied, "Time." When the animals walked across the water, they muddied the water. But given some time, the mud settled and the water became clear again. Our anger is like an animal that runs into the water and muddies it. If we give it some time, the anger dissipates and we become like clear water. Moral of the story. This is a beautiful short story to illustrate what we should never do when we are angry. We should take time and then our mind will calm down. Short Story 4. The Broken Pot. A man lived in a small hut. This story goes back a long time, so there was no plumbing in their house. 2 pots were used to bring water to the house from a nearby well. A pot had a small hole. A man always holds a pot with a hole in his left hand. By the time the man reaches home, the pot on the right is still full and the pot on his left is always half full. A neighbor's child noticed this and asked the man why he was using a broken pot. The man smiled and said, "There are 2 reasons for this. My left hand is a bit weak and I cannot carry a full water pot in my left hand. Another reason is that when I bring the water back the path is watery." He pointed the way and sure enough, one side of the walkway was green and flowering plants and the other side was barren. Moral of the story. This story teaches us that everything has its uses. We may think of something as worthless because it is flawed, but because it serves a greater purpose in the universe. Short Story 5. The Lioness and the Mouse. This is a story about a lioness and a mouse. As we all know, lionesses are aggressive, arrogant and tend to look down on smaller animals. Once a lioness was roaming in the forest. While prowling the bush a thorn pierced the lion's paw. The lioness made a proud decision to ask for help. Bleeding and weak, she wandered in the forest. One day she came across a lowly mouse. The lioness was suffering a lot. Although really scared, the rat had the courage to offer help. He took the thorn out of the lioness's paw. Finally the lioness gets relief from the pain and realizes that she should have sought help a long time ago. Moral of the story: everyone has a role in society. A person may be the prime minister of a country, but when he falls ill he still needs a doctor. We all have roles and each of us is important. Story 6. The world is a mirror that reflects who we are as individuals. One day, two young men came to meet the guru. Two persons were traveling from their hometown. Guru's ashram came on the way and he decided to stop there and seek his advice and blessings. The guru asked the first youth what was the purpose of his leaving his hometown. The man said, "I hated the town. Everyone in the town was selfish and I was struggling in the town. I am leaving town to find better opportunities." The guru told him that such a town could not be found anywhere in the world and told him to stop traveling there. The second person, when asked the same question, said, "Sir, I love my hometown. I have decided to leave the town to see new places and add to my experiences. I want to work in different places and learn new things." The guru then told him that he could continue his journey and find purpose wherever he went. Moral of the story: this is a beautiful story to explain how the world holds a mirror to us. If we look at things in a negative light, we will only see the negative. If we see things in a positive light, the world is a positive place and we can learn and grow. Short Story 7. She can sing better than me. Once upon a time there was a peacock dancing very beautifully in the forest. His radiant blue-green train was completely out and it was indeed a beautiful sight. A slight drizzle and coupled with the petrichor dance truly made the forest heaven on earth. A turtle was hiding behind a bush and watching this. After a while, he couldn't stop himself. He came out of hiding and called the peacock, "Friend Peacock, this is a very beautiful dance. I have never seen anything more beautiful in the world." Quote, but he noticed that the peacock was sad. The tortoise asked the peacock what made him sad. Peacock said, "I am beautiful only to look at. Have you seen a cuckoo bird? It has the sweetest sound in the world. When I open my mouth and sing, everyone runs away, but people love to hear the cuckoo." The turtle was confused for a moment. But, turtles are old and wise creatures and our turtle was no different. He said to the peacock, "Dear friend, each of us has our strengths and weaknesses. We can never compete with others in these matters. If I were to compete with a rabbit while running a race on land, I would surely lose. But, if we had a swimming race on water, who do you think would win?" The peacock realized his mistake and decided to be grateful for his beauty instead of lamenting his bad voice. Moral of the story: every person is unique and we each have our strengths and weaknesses. We should be grateful for our strengths and work to build them instead of lamenting our weaknesses.